What are you doing?
Looking for Luca.
Is he here? Sticking around where you don't belong will be the last thing you do. Capisti?
In Mafia, the Old Country, our story is actually very grounded. It's a very kind of personal story. It's really important that those characters do feel believable. They feel like they live in that world.
No more running.
For anybody working on story-driven cinematic games, the casting process is always hugely important.
Father, so good to see you.
The actors are going to help you bring the emotions that you want the player to feel to screen.
To friendship.
We've been very lucky. We found our core characters, our central 5 or 6 characters, all just popped out from the screen as soon as we saw them.
Are you going to tell me the truth? Or are you going to accuse me of having a wild imagination like everyone else?
The first time I saw Riccardo on the screen, I had an immediate, strong instinct that this was going to be our guy. This was our Enzo.
I thought family was supposed to mean something. How can you do that to him?
I had a relationship with Enzo before Riccardo, the actor, got involved, right? Because we understand his journey in the game. I had a different idea to who Enzo is going to be. And it's really interesting to see what the actor brings to the character, because a character in a video game passes through a lot of hands, from the writers to myself as AD, to the character artists, to the animators. Everybody brings something to the character, and Enzo absolutely evolved across that process. He started as a sort of a younger guy in a way that was maybe even more naive and fresh-faced than we see him in the game.
I'm going far away from this place, Gaetano. Never coming back.
Enzo is a badass, right? Enzo is a dangerous guy. But he also has this other side to him where he's very human and approachable. He's trying to figure some of this stuff out in the same way players are as they encounter him in the game. Riccardo still has a lot of that. He has that naivety, has a quality to him and his performance.
We needed somebody very, very special for that role. And yeah, we were lucky that Riccardo came knocking.
We are trying to listen to our actors and to their ideas, because in the end it could enrich the experience that the player has while playing the game. And it's them who play the role at the end of the day, so they need to feel comfortable with what we are asking them to do.
All of the men in this room are bound by blood.
So we cast great actors for the role. Our job is to take those performances, their talent, and put it on the screen. That's not always straightforward. There is so much work and effort that goes into translating what we all take for granted, which we see every day in the nuanced actions, behaviours, movements of real people. The emotions that they convey really comes across in the detail of those performances when you see them in the game itself.
They wonder our returns. Where have you been? Nowhere. Been busy.
I think that the biggest challenge for an actor that's not used to acting in the motion capture stage is the emptiness of the motion capture stage. The actors need to be able to imagine a lot.
We are supporting them by the props, explaining what each prop means, what the set looks like, and then we are also showing them the virtual world on the screen. We are having like 2 studios, one in Brno, Czech Republic. We use this mostly for the systemic animation, for all the player locomotion, NPC locomotion, the word interaction, all the non-spoken events in the game. For the cinematics and narrative and spoken parts of the game, we are using the California 2K Games motion capture studio in Petaluma, which is really huge. This studio allows us to capture, we call it TCAP, like total capture, which means that we can record not only the body animation, but also the facial expressions and the audio of the actors. Actors, they are enjoying playing and imagining the world, so it's a blast to work with them, They all love to do so.
My precious.
Getting the imagination out of their head may sound challenging for them. It's kind of also freedom for them,
Chemistry between the actors, particularly Enzo and Isabella, has been really, really amazing. It's a real pleasure to watch.
People might talk.
And what would they say?
The way that we tie together the music and the performances and the location and all these things to produce, hopefully, a very memorable introduction into Sicily and to Enzo's experience. That's there to really make players form a relationship with the cast, you can form a relationship with the experience, I think is fantastic.
You have a name. Enzo. All right, Enzo. Let's go.
Mafia is a game that's always defined by its cinematic presentation. It was important that the game has the same production values that players have come to expect from a Mafia game, and in fact, that we've managed to elevate those.
The ambition to make sure that this is the best looking game is definitely there.
Mafia, the old country, utilizes features that give us a lot of artistic freedom.
It allows us to tell that story in a way that we just wouldn't be able to with other technologies. From metahuman to nanite to lumen, these are all different technologies which we are pushing to the max, to be honest. It's allowing us to grasp the intricacies of a performance. It's allowing us to automate some parts of the process to be able to get to a point where we can really start to put our human thumbprints on some of these assets.
Do you wish to commit yourself, your life, to this family?
I do. It's a whole new tech, and I would say the biggest benefits are especially in animations, facial animation, wrinkle maps, shaders. There's a notable improvement in visual fidelity. It's the poly count, it's the shaders, the grooms, eye shader. We did use a specific color palettes to distinguish the families, the fashions, and the enemies. So there is a color code for every faction.
When it comes to characters, it's just ensuring we've got amazing looking, high fidelity characters that I think are on par with some of the best in the industry.
We are hugely benefiting from metahuman technology, very good facial expressions, very nice looking hairstyles.
You look beautiful.
Facial hair was something for a man of that period, which was like well groomed. The opposite spectrum for either the peasants or the bandits.
The artists have really kind of been unleashed on not just the environment art, on the characters, on the vehicles, on the weapons and everything.
We are trying to deliver the vivid world of Sicily.
The majority of the textures we have in-game is created procedurally in Substance Designer. That allows us to have better control over what we see on the screen and also do easy tweaks. If we want to change something, thanks to it being procedural, we can just do adjustments on the fly.
This is a tool that gives us the ability to regenerate the whole building sets basically in a couple hours. Whenever we need to change the whole system, it just reacts to it. The cities look beautiful and consistent in the art.
It allows us to make sure that we've just got the diversity of the environments that we wouldn't really be able to see with some other engines.
In the past titles, like Mafia 3 or even Mafia Definitive Edition, one building, for example, had around 20-30,000 triangles. One building in Mafia Old Country, it can have more than 1 million triangles.
The world can be quite detailed, so we can reflect how real Sicily is, how diverse it is, and we can put a lot more into our game.
Mafia games have always been attractive, we've always had great art, but this new game really takes that to a whole new level.
We are trying to create the experience for the player in a way that there is a storytelling behind those places.
Give me a minute.
I have no hesitation that this will be the best looking Mafia game in the franchise.
If this is how he wants it, this is how it'll be.
We're going right back to that part of the story that we haven't told yet. How did the Mafia begin?
All of the men in this room are bound by blood.
One of the strongest changes in direction we could take for the franchise creatively was to not set the game in a city, but rather to take it to somewhere else to show where these criminal customs and traditions began.
I'd very much consider Sicily and Sicilian culture almost as a character within the story.
When I say to someone 1900 Sicily, where does their mind go? What have they seen before? What do they expect? What's the fantasy? We try and put ourselves in that place and try and imagine how we would start to build the game around that experience.
It also gives us an opportunity to present players with something that they haven't seen before.
quite lucky because Sicily at this time was photographed by a handful of people, and those photographs still exist. There's one really iconic image for me with a child, and you can see, the incredible poverty. There's such humanity in those faces. There's such a huge amount of storytelling in that location because they're also in front of one of these beautiful carved stone buildings. That's the starting point for me.
Sicily's been in the franchise before. Sicily's featured in Mafia 2. That's something that was very interesting to us when we went back and looked at the possibility of making a new game in this environment.
Sicily is a much more diverse country than I think a lot of people imagine. Greek and Roman ruins and some of the Byzantine architecture as well as the Norman architecture, right? So it's a very diverse world.
Sicily is rich on many architecture styles. There are certain, as we call it, layers of history.
It's very exciting to explore this setting and time period. It brings some challenges also for us, but it's quite fun to try to tackle those.
The team's able to deliver really, really spectacular environments, beautiful looking scenes, which really captures the essence of Sicily.
I went with a team of artists to go to Sicily to work with Storm Minds, our dev partners in Sicily, and they took us on the most incredible journey, taking in so many different locations. Every day was super jam-packed between museums and other locations, meeting people that you wouldn't have expected to meet, and there's no way that we could have met on our own.
We work closely with Hunger 13 to recreate early 900s Sicilian cities, ensuring that every cultural and narrative reference is as accurate as possible.
We wanted to highlight aspects of Sicily that many had never seen before.
I felt we were captured in a time capsule because from every corner of the street we've seen the history.
Sicily isn't just a backdrop for us, it's a place that welcomes you, that you come to understand and appreciate. We can't wait for players to experience it firsthand.
This is a family, and in this family we follow a code of honor.
Our priority has always been to ensure that everything in the game feels authentic.
The details are absolutely key in keeping the immersion of the player.
We need to make sure that the game is grounded in the real history of the Sicilian Mafia. Experts in their field are able to kind of help us contextualize things that we read and the stuff that we see on the screen with real lived experiences.
When it comes to something like the knives in the game, there's very little reference that's available for that, right? And so really we had to dig very deep. So we went into some tiny little backwater sort of machine shop where this guy and his son were still crafting knives by hand, imbuing them with their particular regional styles and also their thumbprints, if you like, of their particular approach to building knives. You just wouldn't really have experienced that any other way.
Previous Mafia games were more or less city heavy, and now we are moving to more organic wildlife setting of Sicily.
A very realistic, high fidelity, authentic setting. It really feels like we're transporting you back to 1900 Sicily. That's what Mafia players really expect from one of our games.
Players will form a relationship with Sicily over the course of this game. The landscape is always a character in any Mafia game. I think that's especially true of this location and of this time period and setting.
The promise is to play a classic mob movie. That's the game that you're going to play, allowing players to really imagine themselves back in that time and playing through the game as a Sicilian gangster. I hope players find it as exciting as we do.
I can't wait to show what we've built genuinely to the world.
Welcome, Enzo.
Hey everyone, I'm Nick Baines, president of Hangar 13. We hope you enjoyed this new look at gameplay in Mafia the Old Country. We're just 3 short months away now from getting this game in your hands, and we can't wait. Mafia the Old Country is an origin story for the Mafia universe, and as such, is both a step forward and a return to the fundamentals of the franchise. The heart of Mafia has always been deep, immersive storytelling, and Mafia the Old Country is no exception. It's a premium experience in the vein of early Mafia games, with a linear narrative set against the stunning, authentic backdrop of 1900 Sicily. That focus has allowed us to deliver a classic organised crime drama in the period authentic Mafia rules and traditions of the era. And, as you just saw, we've made some exciting gameplay updates. Whether you're using a knife or a gun, using stealth or in a shootout, this is brutal and grounded in all the best ways. It's all going to pull you in from every angle, pushing the franchise forward in a location and time painstakingly created with the utmost authenticity and detail using Unreal Engine 5. Stick around, because next up is our development team, who have loads of awesome behind-the-scenes insights on how we brought this title to life. And stay tuned between now and August, as we'll have even more to tell and show. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Come in.
Our top goal for every Mafia game is to deliver the promise to a player that you're going to play a classic mob movie. Mafia the Old Country is a linear crime drama set against a beautiful Sicilian backdrop. The first step for us was to make sure that we were nailing all of the things that players expect from a Mafia game. The quality of its storytelling, how immersive it is, how authentic it is. Previous Mafia games have been set in big American cities. We've taken the action and we've put our story in rural Sicily, in the place where the Mafia began.
You really feel like you're transported into another time. It feels really unique and different, but yet really familiar. Players are really going to enjoy that aspect of it.
Our entry point for making these crime dramas is always the protagonist. We wanted to make sure that our main character, Enzo Favara, lives up to the standard which we've set in the past, and I hope in some ways even exceeds that.
All of the men in this room are bound by blood.
Enzo grows up in a sulfur mine. He's one of a bunch of children that are sold to the mine owners at this point in history in Sicily. Their life expectancy is short, and they're essentially seen as disposable.
Enzo turns to crime as a means to make something of himself. The odds are stacked against him. So what does he do? He sees an opportunity for himself to gain some status, to gain some respect.
Do you wish to commit to this family? I do.
Swearing the oath is the chance for him to finally be accepted. He's found a family. It's the thing he's been searching for his entire life, but it comes at a cost.
I think players are in for an emotional roller coaster. The high stakes of the Mafia life present opportunities for us as storytellers to take players and put players through the ringer, really, in terms of what happens to their character, what happens to them in the game.
You again.
What makes a really compelling gameplay experience is the mix of the high-intensity combat, cover play, cover shooting, set by these beautiful cinematics that make what you do in the combat so much more meaningful because you're fighting for something you really believe in.
Authenticity and immersion are key. And so we wanted to take that philosophy from the storytelling and make sure that it was consistent in the gameplay.
You know, whether you come for that core cover combat shooting experience or that white knuckle driving experience, we have that in Mafia the Old Country, but it's unique.
There's some downbeats, there's some deep storytelling moments, and then there's some like high intensity action. And I think that's what makes Mafia missions and the general experience so interesting, is that we're constantly trying to change that roller coaster experience that you're on.
Enzo's proving himself with guns, and we wanted the combat to feel like there was a scarcity of resources, so you have to be more tactical in the way that you approach combat. The knife has been an integral part of gameplay. It's a part of Sicilian culture.
We wanted our gameplay to be immersive, to have a life or death kind of vibe. So when players are in a knife duel, when they're in a gunfight, they're genuinely fearing for their lives.
My flesh must burn like this saint if I do not keep my oath.
Bringing 1900 Sicily to life for us, it infuses every aspect of the development. It's about the characters, it's about the music, it's about the story, it's about the setting, it's about the vistas, it's about the vehicles, it's everything. It always starts with research, it always starts with immersing ourselves in the subject matter. So whether that's reading every crime book around the Sicilian Mafia, watching all of the movies, even driving the cars, firing the weapons, and then translating that into the game, that's the development experience.
We even sent some folks out to Sicily. We were then able to take all of those experiences and try to translate it into an on-screen experience, but also a story. And those two things are woven together in a way that I think players are going to really enjoy.
Bravery is not common in this world, and so
the Mafia that we see in Mafia the Old Country is much different than the Mafia that we see in some of the other Mafia games. It's a time-honored tradition steeped in secrecy, and there's this sort of deep honor that we see within the Teresi family and within the characters there.
The characters' relationships with each other, the way they behave, is very much influenced by that setting and that cultural difference.
This is a distinctive experience that I've never played before, and I'm sure that players are going to feel the same.
Mafia the Old Country is our first Unreal 5 game in the studio, and it's particularly suited to the Sicilian setting.
We've really been able to push the boat out in terms of sort of the real tiny details on everything.
You know, one of the big ones for me is metahuman. You have characters that have really lifelike expressions, micro details. You know, many times when I'm watching the game, especially on a big screen in 4K, I start to forget that they're characters rendered in an engine. They just look like real characters in a movie. I think that's the level of immersion that we want, and it allows people, I think, to really suspend their disbelief and go along for the ride.
Enzo is beautifully rendered in the game, and I think he's one of the most compelling game characters we've seen for a long time.
The thing I'm most excited about from Mafia the Old Country is finally getting the game in players' hands.
The story pulls you through really quickly, and at the end, it takes your breath away, and it's one that you're not going to want to spoil for your friends.
The visuals and the storytelling are absolutely next level.
Our setting's completely distinctive. Our story's completely unique. This is a game that you haven't played before. The best crime stories have unforgettable twists, and this game's no exception. Players are in for a treat.
Welcome, Enzo.
I think the sound design in any video game gives players a real tactile sense of immersion in the world. These kind of sounds really take the animations and the models that we've created and give them a real solid sense in the world.
Our main goal for the weapons was to just make them feel ultimate. Completely change the storyline by just one slight pull of trigger. This is the actual reason why we put a lot of effort into sound designing every weapon. All the guns the player encounters in the game are real, so it's not a big deal to get to them and to record the high quality sounds in a way we need them. But that's just the starting point. Our main inspiration went from the Hollywood movies, especially the best modern westerns, to make the sound punchy as we want them.
Enzo! We can't let them get away! I drive, you shoot.
Cars have always had a big role in our project, and I'm really glad that we continue this tradition.
We're also at a time when cars are all hand-built. Every single car is created by a craftsman, so every car's got a kind of a hand-built feeling to it.
It won't last much longer.
The cars are loud, jolty on the streets. When you get them up to a top speed, it's a kind of a hair-raising experience.
Our goal was to create car sounds as authentic as possible. Fortunately for us, there are highly passionate people who still cares about these beautiful cars. So we were quite easily able to find all necessary vehicles in few weeks. We decided to record all vehicles on the road. That gives you some advantages. You can capture the true sound of the cars.
It sounds completely different to a modern car. There's just a completely different character. There's no muffling of the exhaust in any way, and so it's a really raucous, raw feel to the car. It makes driving them really, really fun.
Bye!
The game score was composed in a classical way, but as well we used some traditional Sicilian instruments. These all are the instruments that like creating nice feeling and the vibe that we want to achieve.
The music underscores the emotional content of the cinematic or of the gameplay experience. The music in a way makes the graphics look much better than they would do otherwise.
There is as well the diegetic music. It means this is the music that is happening into a real game world, such as street musicians or miners in the sulfur mine singing their labor songs. All these are sung together with the game score, and they are quite nicely sometimes blending into each other.
In our game, the ambience are very important. They help to convey the mood, but also to sell the experience. They need to be immersive. That's why we recorded many voice lines with a Sicilian studio.
They helped us build up some of the soundscapes that you will hear throughout the countryside and in different locales. For example, going to the coast will sound and feel very different from going to a market in a town. And it was a sort of collaboration between the narrative teams, the audio team, who helped us really sprinkle in that level of authenticity. It's through that process that we've kind of layered up the sounds that you hear throughout the game to make these areas feel alive.
The vibe is completely unique. This is a distinctive experience that I've never played before, and I'm sure that players are going to feel the same.
Fukami!